So who, what, where and when, this is a little bit about me just to run through. So I've worked in music jobs for sort of 14 years. Most recent couple of jobs I've had were of head of music entertainment at Sky Tickets, which is part of Sky TV, and of head of music licensing at Sky TV also. I currently consult for a range of clients, including Eventbrite and Jack. I'm the manager of a UK hip-hop artist called Dot Brown. And what we're going to mainly talk about today is my experience with the retail e-commerce app Givvit that I founded with a business partner a few years ago. In a nutshell, it's an app that lets you send coffees or pints of beer or flowers to your friends and family. So we've done deals with people like Starbucks, Pizza Express, places like that. So my friend Stuart in the front there, I could send a Starbucks coffee via the app and he could then go to the shop and pick it up. So that's also, I'm very tall indeed, so I'm sitting down not to get in the way of anything. The final thing should be, I'm also terrible at PowerPoint slides. So the next one, let's start off. George Bush said there is no word in French for entrepreneur, which is obviously retarded. The translation of an entrepreneur is one who undertakes, which I quite liked, so I put that in there as well. So I'm trying to do on my phone and the thing at the same time. My premise now is that everybody is now an entrepreneur. You might not be setting up your own business, but you might be setting up a section of a business in your company. You might be writing a blog. You might have an Etsy page and be selling patchwork or whatever it might be. Everybody in this new world seems to be an entrepreneur, and there are a myriad of stresses and strains on your time. It's a tough world, I think, for most people to operate in at the moment. There's obviously a lot of upside. In terms of the business that we created, it's been an amazing experience for me personally over the last 5 years. Definitely intoxicating. We created, a brand, a company out of thin air. We won a slot as one of Wired Mag's apps of the year last year. We raised £1 million in funding and then spent £1 million in funding. For me, it was essentially a practical, hands-on MBA that I've enjoyed immensely, and it tests you to your very core, and you learn a huge amount about yourself. But then we've got the rub, and this is a caveat in that I guess this is a slightly younger audience, but consider me the ghost of Christmas future, and you guys Ebenezer Scrooge. So I'm trying to kind of come back and tell you, watch out for the future. I'm not trying to preach; it's just trying to share some experience. To continue the presidential theme, President Obama said, "Hard things are hard," and I've definitely found that. And I think I haven't suffered from all of these, but I've suffered from a range of these after essentially doing 2 full-time jobs concurrently. So I was head of music licensing at Sky TV, very, very tough job, long hours, out at many gigs at night, and at the same time founding and running a company. And for 3 solid years, I was probably doing 18-hour days, heavy weekends, and it just really caught up with me. And I think you have a well of resilience that you burn away, and week after week, month after month, it just catches up with you after a while. And I experienced quite a lot of physical symptoms. I used to get, when I drink caffeine, I would get my eyes used to go a bit shaky. I developed quite bad insomnia. What else did I go through? I had this thing called anhedonia, which I had to look up, which is an inability to feel pleasure in normally pleasurable activities. That's not a dirty thing, by the way, guys. That's actually the best example there is I actually won an award in that job for Sky doing a Game of Thrones trailer, the music on it. And I went to this big flashy awards ceremony, and I was sat there, and I got called up, and I just didn't give a shit. I honestly didn't care, and I just thought, that is not a good place to be. So that was the beginning of a realization that you only have so much to give until you're kind of out of bandwidth and out of, just out of effort really. And it's something it's good to realize, and hopefully people can point it out for you. And then, a lot of the experts that are kind of now looking back on that, and I think social media plays a big part in all of this as well. And one of the sort of favorite quotes on this, and I'm happy to forward this deck out to people, is read more books and less tweets. I think the volume of information that we try and take in these days is all-consuming. I've deleted apps from my phone because I think it's important to find space in your day to let your mind breathe, to process the information that's coming in. And again, for 3 solid years, I went through a phase of tailoring my day down to the second. I would make a phone call in the minute, walk from one meeting to the toilet. I would be texting, as I was driving to another meeting. It's crazy. And I think, social media is this giant casino. Charlie Brooker, who's one of my favorite writers, he basically had his list of the world's greatest computer games, and he had Twitter as the #1 game. The guys that built it this way, and Sean Parker, who's heavily involved in Facebook, Spotify, Napster, obviously, said there's a little dopamine hit which every time you interact, and that's every email you get, that's every phone call, every Twitter like, everything. It all adds up, and don't underestimate the compound interest on all of that hits you over time. And Chamath, I'm going to have to say Palihapitiya, who is the CEO of Social Capital, is the ex-head of growth at Facebook. So his job was to get people using the platform more and more. He says it's destroying how society works. He doesn't let his own children use it. So as, again, a cautionary tale, just try and regulate the volume of information that you're taking in and try and be smart about it. And so long versus short, meal versus snack, I think is good advice. I then went about a fight back, and there's quite a few here, but I just sort of did a huge amount of reading as to how you get yourself out of a burnout. So if we run through them, like sleep was a big part for me. Sleep is a superpower if you can really work on it. Turn your phone off an hour before you go to bed. Let your brain calm down. I use a natural light alarm clock rather than have my phone in my bedroom. Diet, if you Google dopamine-rich foods, you lose a lot of dopamine and get very low dopamine levels from stress if you produce a lot of cortisol. So it's helpful to eat dopamine-rich foods. Booze and drugs, you guys all know how that works. Your inbox is other people's to-do list. I really like that. I heard that from someone once. So don't let it control you. Humans psychologically suffer from what's called a recency bias, which means that whatever pops up first, newest into your email, takes your attention straight away. But that's not the way you should be. Don't let other people dictate what you're doing. Social media-wise, I deleted all the apps from my phone, just check them for your desktops. I know a lot of you will be going, no, I can't do that. You can, and actually after a couple of weeks, you don't really care, and it doesn't make a big difference. The caveat being, if it's part of your job, you have to be a bit careful with that. But turn off all the notifications. Back to the recency bias. Every time your phone pings, you know what it's like when you're sat at a meeting with someone and their phone pings and you lose their attention because they look at their phone and then they get the whirlwind of death face and they just don't know what's going on. You just put it to the side. Keep it out of your sight on the commute. All these little things I think are key. Exercise is something I think is absolutely critical. It doesn't matter what kind of exercise you do, just do something because it's meditative as well. Walk, go to the gym, do yoga, whatever it is. It's all, as much as you can, will fortify you. I actually got into meditation. Is that the next slide? Next slide. So I now do transcendental meditation, which sounds super hippie-ish, but it has been phenomenal for me. And there's loads of other types. A good thing to do is if you guys feel stress on a general basis, then download the app Headspace. There's one called Pause. There's a bunch of others as well that I think are brilliant. And 10, 20 minutes a day just helps turn that boiling pot in your brain off a little bit and helps it simmer down. Music first. Playlists are amazing. Spotify, Deezer, Apple playlists. There's a really good one called Relax and Unwind. That'll help you cool out for sure. Nature. Try and get as much nature in your life as possible. Again, sounds pretty hippie, but just go and walk in a forest. Go for a walk by a river, whatever it is. Professional help. There are online resources. This stuff doesn't have to be expensive. It's not a big deal. You can do chat with people to make talk about stress, talk about whatever it is. Confide. Talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to trusted friends in the music business, whatever it might be. And this is one I really like, and I've got an app for this called Happy Feed, where I write 3 things down every day that I'm grateful for. And again, it just compounds because it puts you into a positive mindset. And again, once more, sticking with the presidential theme, Teddy Roosevelt said, comparison is the thief of joy, which I really love, because if you're comparing yourself to stylized, curated lifestyles on Instagram or whatever it might be, it's bullshit. It's not real, but it affects us because we've got an old operating system in our heads, basically, that isn't fit for purpose in the way we live today. And one thing someone said to me about this is, whenever you see someone else's life that looks great, the deal is you'd have to swap every part of your life for them. So you'd have to swap your family, you'd have to swap everything. So really think about what the point is there, if you would want to swap or not. And finally, just enjoy the ride, you know. Everyone's planning for the future, trying to strive ahead, trying to learn from the past, and I've just tried to learn to be a lot more present, which again, I think helps a lot. And I'll just finish with Bill and Ted's excellent adventure, be excellent to each other and yourselves. So thank you very much.